Hey everyone. Before we start, I just want to say thank you for bearing with us these past couple of months. They've been pretty rough, and I may talk about them in an update video more than I am mentioning them here, but I just want to say thanks. Anyways, I hope you all enjoy the video. Huh? What was that you were all saying? Not enough lunch club videos? Need more uploads, do ya? Well, don't you worry yourself, because I have a video for you today that will satisfy both of those cravings. Welcome to the video about everyone's favorite ball of sunshine, Travis. Now, before we get to talking about why Travis is the light of lunch club that just keeps shining, it's essential that we quickly dip our toes into how he came to gain the final form that he is inhabiting today. That's right, everyone watching, say it with me, it's backstory time! The earliest archives of Travis captured on his channel are actually things you generally wouldn't expect if you were to solely base your opinion off of his current content. He started with a string of videos that depicted a PNG of a dog getting into a bunch of shenanigans with sound effects done expressly by Travis himself. There are a multitude of comments sharing the sentiment that the videos are a perfect mirror of what old YouTube used to be, and I would be hard pressed to disagree with that. It's almost as if a Gen Z kid was making Facebook ads aimed towards middle-aged people, aka the only people in the world who still use Facebook. However, very soon after, he started appearing in videos with his friends, mainly C-Scoop and Call Me Carson, portraying a caricature that can best be described as a preteen in a legal adult's body with some ADHD sprinkled in. And he was pretty universally adored. In fact, he was so adored that it was clear that there was a demand for him to showcase his personality on his channel, instead of his stunning but snippet-sized doggo adventures. Little did these folks know that he would make his long-form content debut on his channel on April Fool's Day of 2019 by way of an introduction to SMP Live, which we all know was one of the big forces behind the revitalization of Minecraft on YouTube. And as the server got bigger, Travis would start to grow exponentially, while uploading consistent videos revolving around SMP Live and his ventures in it, with the odd Portal 2 or Undertale video thrown in every once in a while. During this time, he also became a member of Lunch Club and revealed his face to be the exact replica of the dog that is set as his profile picture. Seriously though, if I was to put these two pictures side by side, would you be able to, in good conscience, tell me they are different in any way, shape, or form? That's what I thought. Anyways, this streak of videos continued for approximately 9 months until the inevitable shutdown of SMP Live. However, though the server that started his career shut down, Travis kept on growing by playing Animal Crossing and most recently Among Us, as every single person on the platform has. So now that we've gotten the backstory out of the way, it's time for us to ask the real question of the video, and that is what makes Travis such a special content creator, to the point where he has gained 636,000 subscribers in a little under 2 years. I mean, that's not a feat that can be accomplished by just anybody. And before the comments of, oh, he just rode the coattails of his friends, one of my very good friends has a saying that I always loved. It doesn't take much to become renowned. That happens to people every day. But longevity, however, takes a whole lot. So in describing what makes the other members of the Lunch Club unique, I've dove into their psyche and have been pretty analytical with my dissections. I will not be doing this with Travis because instead of delving into his psyche to understand why he has succeeded at such a high level, it's instead important that we dive into ours, the audience members. And honestly, there's not even that much to dive into if we're being real with each other. As the title of the video says, Travis is just wholesome. Yes, I know everybody knows that, but there's more to the psychology that we need to get into here. As the internet has become more prevalent in the lives of the youth everywhere, we have naturally become exposed to things younger and younger over the years, to the point where 10-year-olds have a whole world of information at their hands in the form of an iPhone or an iPad. From my personal experience, people were cussing up a storm and talking about sexual situations by the time we were in 4th grade. I'm not saying that solely because of the internet, but I am saying that it is a factor that enhances the discovery rate. As a result of this, many younger people discover more mature subjects and thus become more mature or hardened at a much younger age than the previous generations have. While the boomers were out playing football in the streets when they were 10, Gen Z was reading creepypastas. This, however, is something that wasn't necessarily a good thing. As you can imagine, the drawback of encountering mature themes and matters at a young age is the retraction of youth sooner than later. Many of my good friends have expressed the sentiment that they desire to go back to their childhoods, citing reasons such as things were so much easier back then, or more specifically, the responsibilities of adulthood weren't looming above their heads. So when one is to think of Travis, what specific connections does he have with youthfulness? Well, first of all, the most obvious aspect that is pointed out is his lack of using profanity, as that type of vocabulary is generally only developed somewhere between middle and high school. However, looking at it that way is a bit superficial to me, as it's more of a controllable trait as opposed to a trait that you were simply born with. So, let's look a little bit deeper. A linchpin of the persona that Travis has on the internet is his bubbly nature. Although some of his colleagues make jokes about his intelligence at his expense, he never makes too much out of it and always rolls with the punches. He always resides on a plane of existence where there's absolutely nothing that can break his stride with happiness. And his unwavering ability to see the good in things and maintain a happy spirit is something that his fan base adores. The best example of this that I can think of is the Lifelink stream that Lunch Club held a while back. During this stream, the majority of the members got genuinely upset with Schlatt and Slimesicle for being very chaotic. Yet, the one person who seemed to be actively working towards a beneficial goal, all the while taking the jokes in jest, was Travis. Another one of my good friends said that it makes sense that he plays Animal Crossing a lot because it's the perfect game to mirror his personality. It's something that everyone can enjoy, as well as something that seems to make everyone that plays it filled with genuine and natural happiness. Plus, a lot of simplistic and juvenile things really set him over the edge with laughter, and there isn't a more simple, relaxing game out there than Animal Crossing, and I do mean that in the best way possible. Another aspect of Travis that adds to this air of wholesomeness about him is something that a good amount of other YouTubers either lack in or have none of at all, and that is authenticity. There's a giant stigma attached to happiness on the platform about being faked at a criminally high rate and how faking it can affect one's mental state. I suggest looking into Bobby Byrne's video on the subject if you fancy that sort of insight. Anyways, this is not the case when it comes to Travis. Whenever you watch him and hear the sound of his voice, it never goes over the top. It always sounds like he is truly invested in and enjoying whatever game he is playing or activity he is participating in. The sound of his iconic laugh always sounds like it's coming straight from the gut with not an ounce of inauthenticity detected. And as someone who has a rather cynical viewpoint on most things, that isn't something that I take lightly. He manages to be an absolute beacon of light and hope in a genre of YouTube, that being gaming, which holds a large amount of toxic content and people within it. If you think about what gaming on YouTube started off as, it was a platform that held a bunch of people yelling, screaming, and thoroughly enjoying themselves. However, as the landscape has progressed, as it naturally will, we are now presented more often than not with people who take gaming very seriously and on a professional level. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, and it is definitely a market that a lot of people enjoy and look into, but all of the intensity that comes with that can be a little too much for some viewers who preferred the older style of content. So, now that I think about it, maybe the comparison that I made loving old YouTube to Travis's earliest content can also hold relevance when discussing his newer content. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a man in front of a screen enjoying himself to his heart's content. And if that doesn't sum up the wholesomeness that YouTube needs on its platform, I simply don't know what could. Thank you all so much for watching. First and foremost, if you guys liked this video, please subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world to me, and I know that it helps when I ask, so yeah. Second matter of business, I would like to thank our patron, Weston Katecki, and our producer, AJ Ford. If you have any interest in joining the ranks, the link to our revamped Patreon is in the description. We also have the link to our Twitch, Twitter, and podcast, Banter for Two, there as well. I want to thank everyone for their patience and the amazing support we have been receiving on our stuff. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.